Well, hello into people, how are you guys doing? I hope you are doing well. Now today is part 2 to the similarities between autism and ADHD. Now this video is a collaboration with Hailey from Hailey's Comment, and basically this is the rest of our discussion. Like, we sat down the other day and did, I think, well over an hour's worth of recording, and this is the second part of that recording. And also these last 5 points that we discussed in this part were really interesting, actually, and not something that many people talk about. So I hope you find it as interesting as we both did, and I hope you enjoy this video. So if you're a long-term viewer of the channel, you'll probably know about some of the problems I have with auditory processing and just this whole thing of basically just hearing everything around me and just having that difficulty of having a conversation with someone when there's just absolutely everything going on. Like, you get distracted by stuff as well, and I was kind of hoping you'd expand on that a little bit.
So that's actually surprised me that you get distracted by everything. I guess just because I was a little uneducated on some of the symptoms of autism. But yeah, I didn't know that. But for ADHD, super common. That's kind of what we're known for. Everything distracts me. Like I said in our differences video, I can multitask, but like there's a fine line, and it has to be stuff that's like within my control. So the other day, I was having a meeting at a bar. It's a long story how we ended up having a meeting at a bar, but we were at a bar trying to have a meeting about our poetry team. Anyway, people were performing on stage, like there was music going on, everyone's chit-chatting, we're sitting at a table, people are talking, like we're, discussing things, and I had no idea what anyone was saying. I didn't know what we were talking about. I was just sitting there nodding and like hoping we were gonna go somewhere that was quieter soon, because there's just so much that it's like my brain doesn't know how to filter out what's unnecessary.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I'll have a conversation with someone and then I can just like hear other conversations. I don't know if it's the same with everyone with their autism and ADHD, but like just stuff it kind of gets blurred together. It's like this music thing back in the 60s, the wall of noise, like it just, none of it makes sense. It's just like all happening at one time, and I literally just can't filter it, and it's just annoying when you're trying to have a meaningful conversation about, I don't know, just the meaning of life, and you can hear like people talking.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like little noises too. Like the sound of the air conditioning, for example. Like my brain doesn't filter that out. So like I'm always hearing that. Not that other people can't hear it, but it's like if you choose to listen to it, you can hear it. Otherwise your brain knows that it's not important, but my brain like keeps that like somewhat at the forefront of my brain. So every little noise, every like action around me is like I always see it, I always hear it.
Like even the tiniest thing, like the fridge, for goodness sake. Like fridges make noises, guys. Lights make noises. They're just the little things you wouldn't think about when you're autistic. Like that's like the hearing might be amplified, and you can just hear things that people wouldn't even think make a noise. Now, meltdowns in the autism world, it's not a topic that is unknown of, unheard of. It's one of those things for me where it's just that whole sense of like sensory stuff coming at me, conversations, all of that, and I literally just can't cope, and just ugh. That's the best way and the only way I can really describe it. But it's funny, when I was talking to Hailey about this whole thing, ADHD people with ADHD have meltdowns. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, it's actually pretty commonly talked about in the ADHD community. I mean, we just have meltdowns for kind of the same reasons. A lot of times it's overload. We definitely can get overloaded by sensory input as well. So a lot of times when I'm driving, I will have a meltdown like I have before, like if I'm getting lost and there's just so much happening when I'm driving, it's just too much. Another thing, like when I was growing up, basically, if I'm forced into situations to do things that my brain cannot do easily and everyone else is like acting like it's easy, a lot of times that's when I'm gonna have a meltdown. When I was a kid, I would always have to read, and my parents would put on a timer or something or tell me I have to read so much, and I couldn't focus on that at all, and so it was just really challenging for me. And I would just have a meltdown pretty much every time they would ask me to read, crying and screaming, huge temper tantrum, and it's like you're not doing it for attention, you just actually feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like meltdowns for me, I don't experience them that often, I don't feel. Like, I feel I have like miniature meltdowns or just like moments of where I can't. Really, a meltdown for me will occur when there's just multiple things for me going on that I just can't deal with. I mean, one example, I was actually at work. It was like a leave and do. People were leaving. It was a really busy day as well. Tons of phone calls. I hate answering the phone. Tons of calls. People were asking me 20 million questions, and also the thing as well was that there was like a leaving buffet, which I don't like buffets. I can't stand them. And like people were saying, "Oh, you're not going to the buffet." I'm like, I can't stand buffets. Just leave me alone. So I felt agitated anyway. Kind of the tipping point was someone asked me if I could do something. I was just like, right, I can't do this, and just started bawling my eyes out at my desk, and I was just like, I can't cope with this. And I actually had to be taken over to the side, and I was like, I was just basically a babbling mess for like half an hour, and even afterwards I was just just my functioning just was just through the floor. Just couldn't cope with anything. I think the thing that I'm trying to get at is like multiple things can get you to that point. Maybe the thing that tips someone into a meltdown might not necessarily be the cause. Like, it might be a multitude of different things.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's never just like one thing. It's like a whole bunch of little things that like other people probably don't see, and it's just like I explode kind of thing. And they don't happen to me that often either anymore. Like they happened a lot when I was a kid, but as you grow older, it's easier to manage your emotions, but it definitely still happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. You think that some people might think it's only like a kid's thing. It can happen in adults as well. Like the whole work example, that was, when was that? That was 18 to 24 months ago. So
It's very
so
specific.
I'm a specific person. I'm very specific. I'm kind of anal about that stuff, to be honest. But now, self-perception is that whole thing of knowing oneself and kind of understand where you are at that time, and it ties in with spatial awareness. It's that whole thing of knowing the space around you. My spatial awareness is kind of non-existent. I mean, you could be stood right behind me and I wouldn't even know you were there.
I definitely have really poor spatial awareness as well. Like yesterday, I was walking and I was turning my head and I like hit my head really, really hard on the door. I knew the door was there. I knew that I was close to the door, but like I didn't realize how close I was. And it's also like hard for me to gauge if I have enough time to turn at like a green light with the cars coming, or like if I'm turning left or something like that. It's hard to gauge like where everything is in relation to me. And so, yeah, people with ADHD are pretty notorious for being clumsy. Not the hyperactive type. The hyperactive type is like they're usually pretty athletic, but everybody else with ADHD is usually very clumsy. We're just not very aware of like where we are. Because you said you were clumsy too, right?
I am kind of clumsy, actually. I'll just like walk into walls and stuff without even realizing.
Literally me yesterday.
It's just that whole thing of like not being able to measure visually like what's around you, I guess. Now, hyperfixations. Now, these are those things that autistic people and ADHD people do where we get engrossed in something and nothing else kind of matters. I'd say that is what hyperfixation is generally, but what is it to you, do you feel?
I would agree. I think there's like two types kind of, like for me at least. There's one where it's like ongoing. So YouTube is definitely one for me. I'm always thinking constantly and talking about my YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure I'm like pretty annoying sometimes to people like who know me because I'm just always talking about it. I'm always thinking about it. And then there's also ones where it's just like spur of the moment. Like one time I thought like I should be a firefighter, even though I've never wanted to be a firefighter before in my whole life. And so then I just spent like 5 hours researching how to become a firefighter. And it's just like, so either it's just random stuff or it's like ongoing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we've chatted about this like fixation with YouTube. Like, I get really into YouTube like for the videos that I make. Like, I look up at like what to talk about, how other people, you know, make videos, you know, how to present yourself on camera, because like there's a lot to being a YouTuber, and that's kind of the scary thing with like hyperfixations and stuff. It's like it could be completely random, and you just want to be engrossed in it. It's like I asked my fiance for a Christmas present to get me a toy llama, and then for Valentine's Day she got me the other one. So the first one had a friend, and it's like I was getting like llama calendars, like llama whatever. It just it's one of those things where you just have to engross yourself, whether it is random or just something ongoing. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like you need to be doing whatever it is or looking up whatever it is. Like it just feels like, oh, this is so important right now. I need to do this. Or like you just enjoying it so much. And then later on you're like, why did I spend so much time doing that completely irrelevant thing?
Oh god, totally. What you were saying earlier about having conversations with people about the things that we get fixated on, it kind of annoys my fiance when I talk about YouTube all the time, because I literally tell her everything about
Yeah.
it. This is one of those similarities where it can be amazing, because it is kind of like something you can share with someone that you like admire, or you know, a friend or a partner. It can be obsessive, and I just wanted to make that point there.
Yeah, it's definitely because there's a difference between passion and a hyperfixation. And I think a lot of people are passionate about YouTube channels, for example. But it's one thing to be passionate about it, and it's another thing to always nonstop be thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, thinking about YouTube constantly. It's mad. It's kind of weird. Like, do you feel like on a personal level? Do you feel like you become really passionate over those over the fixations more than like interactions with people and things like that? I'm just curious because I don't know. I've
Yeah,
never actually talked to anyone about that.
neither have I. And like I hate to say that, but it literally consumes your life. It's all you ever want to do. It's all you ever want to talk about, and it's like I choose that over people in my life or anything else.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't like talking to people. It's just, I think it's that thing of we just have to we just have this need, I think, to have stuff in our life that we enjoy. I think that's kind of the main thing about this one. Now, emotion in the autism world, you know, when it comes to expression of emotion and things like that, some people might have the misconception that autistic people don't feel emotion, but this is not necessarily the case. And in fact, some of us can feel emotion more severely and more intensely than what people may realize. I think a lot of it has to do with the circumstance of where you are at that time or a situation that you are in. But it can be quite overpowering, actually, emotion, and you can just become really sensitive to other people's emotion. And I don't know what your thoughts on it, Hailey?
I am definitely very sensitive to emotion, and it's interesting that like we talk about this because I didn't know that that was an autism trait before our conversation. But yeah, people with ADHD are very emotional. Little things have a big impact on us. So something very small that's happy makes us really happy. Something very small that would make someone just slightly sad is gonna make us really, really sad, you know, crying and all that. And I've kind of talked about this, I don't remember in what video, but in one of my videos, but I used to think that I had bipolar disorder because of this, and because of my hyperfixations and all that. But no, it's honestly, how people describe bipolar disorder is more so representative of ADHD and apparently autism, because like they don't have the up and downs as much as we do. Theirs is like obsessions, you know what I mean, and like mania. So, but yeah, definitely very all over the place. Anger is a big one, especially, I hate to stereotype here, but generally speaking, men who have ADHD are very angry, whereas women who have ADHD are very sad.
I think from it was quite interesting how you said you didn't think it was an autism thing. I think kind of the misconception is we sometimes don't show the emotion in the way that's conventional. It's an absolutely fine thing. I mean, I didn't really know much about it. I can only talk about it from myself. Yeah, we can feel things like incredibly intensely. I mean, I'll be watching a TV show about something, I don't know, like Britain's Got Talent, where the other day they had a dog and a guy on. It was like a magician and stuff like that. Well, this whole story of this dog in on this TV show is incredibly sad. I just felt like it's sad, but like I don't normally get sad over things like that. But it was just in that moment, in that situation, it was just like I was like, oh God, like I feel really like.
Yeah, that's how it is for me too. It's just like suddenly I feel so strongly. There's like no stopping your emotion. It's just like this kind of leads into the meltdowns that we were talking about earlier. It's just like you feel so intensely. You can't calm yourself down. You know you're overreacting, or you know, a neurotypical would see you as doing that. But that's just how you feel.
And also with autism as well, it's kind of hard to regulate emotion. So, you know, we might, you know, stim, for example, we might, you know, go into a meltdown. Emotions are very complicated things as well that I sometimes can't understand. Like, we could be sensitive to emotion, but we might not necessarily understand what that emotion is at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I always know what emotion I'm feeling though. So I think that's kind of where we differ. But I'm definitely like, any little tiny thing could change my whole day.
Like, being sensitive to emotion can be good if it's like a positive emotion. Like, we could just be like become really excited, really happy about things, which can be a good thing. So I don't know, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, I'd say.
Yeah, pretty much all of our symptoms can be good in one way, but can be bad in another.
And also, not everyone with ADHD is going to experience the same symptoms, the same way that not everyone with autism is going to experience the same symptoms, but it is kind of nice in a way that we do have those similarities from time to time.
Right, absolutely. I don't know what to say.
I was just going to say that it's a nice point to end, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your channel.
No, thank you, Hailey. Honestly, you've been incredibly great to work with, and I hope you guys who have watched these parts all the way through have taken something away from it, and you've learned something new about autism and ADHD and the similarities between the two. And also, guys, I did make a video over on Hailey's channel, which will be in the description box and at the end screen, so go and check it out if you fancy. But for now, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button so I know, subscribe down below if you are brand new and you want more. Stay you, stay indie, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all next time.